Welcome everyone to another Khan Academy tutorial. Today we're going to be doing two-step equations. We're going to jump right into it. The first one is solve for D. Now when we're talking about solve for D, we're talking about solving for a variable. Essentially this could be rewritten as 41 equals 12 times some number minus 7. Sometimes you'll see it in books written like this, times blank minus 7 equals 41. So essentially what we need to do is we need to work backwards in order to find our missing variable. How do we do that? Well, normally we have order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Order of operations. Okay, we start this way and go down through the order until we get to subtraction. When we're solving, we're going in reverse. Okay, so we're going in reverse because we're trying to undo the order to arrive at our variable. So we need to go in reverse. We're going to do reverse order of operations. Essentially, what we're going to look for is we are going to move everything that is farthest from the variable first. So the variables here, this 12 is very close. It's being multiplied by the variable. So we're going to do stuff that's or terms and numbers. We're going to move those first. Now remember that we need to exercise the properties of equality, which means what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay. Now what are we going to do here? Well, we see that there's a 41 on the left side. Don't fall into the trap of, oh, we need to move this 41. If it's already on the opposite side of the D, then just leave it alone. We're trying to move stuff on D's side over to the other side. D needs to be, our goal is to have D on its own side with everything over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. First thing we're going to do is we are going to add 7. If we're subtracting 7 and we're trying to undo that, we need to add 7 to both sides. What happens? We get 48 equals 12D. What happened to the minus 7? It goes away. You wouldn't believe how many times I see people accidentally write plus 7 here. Well, that wouldn't happen, okay, because you did negative 7 plus 7. Now, why doesn't this not become, another thing that I see is 12D, and then they add 7, they get 19D. It's not going to be 19D because they are unlike terms. You cannot combine these two, so don't do that. This is bad, okay? Now we have 12 times D equals 48. What times 12 equals 48? You could have it 12 times blank. This is just like a flashcard now. Now, the way to go in reverse is to divide both sides by 12. You can't do it to one side. You have to do it to both sides. What happens? 12 times 12 is not 0. I always hear people say that. It's not 0, but it does become 1. 12 divided by 12 is 1. That's how you undo multiplication, is division. So we get 1 times D equals 4. Now, 1 times D is just D. Anything times 1 is just going to be itself. So we get our answer of 4 for D. We're going to type that in there. 4. Check it. Okay, next one. This one's a little tougher. Now we have 3 equals G divided by negative 4 minus 5. Two different ways to do this, but we're going to go ahead and use the first way that I mentioned, which is move stuff that's farthest away from G. A lot of teachers will say this is attached, so we're going to handle that last. So we're going to add 5 to both sides first. Make sure you write the plus 5 on both sides. Don't be lazy. Organization is key. Take it line by line. Okay, write the equal sign again. Always keep this equal sign in line with the one above it. And then we have G divided by negative 4. Now we're in a dilemma. Not a dilemma, but just a new situation. We have divide by negative 4. Well, how do we undo division? Our whole point is going in reverse to get the variable by itself. How do we undo division? We multiply by negative 4 to both sides. Okay, that undoes that. That becomes 1, so we're left with G on the right side. That's our whole goal. We're trying to get G by itself, and we get negative 32 on the left side, so G equals negative 32. We're going to type that in, negative 32. Okay, let's do a couple more. Here we have a parentheses example. Very similar process. Most people would want to distribute this first, but I'm going to tell you that that's really not necessary. Here we can just see that we're going to go reverse order of operations. Since parentheses is the first thing that we do, normally in PEMDAS, what we're going to do is we're going to go in reverse and we're going to handle that last. Now, technically, there's a few little alterations you could do here, but I'm just going to show you the way that I've been teaching it so far. And that is, we see that we have this here, okay, the parentheses, but there's multiplication. So we're going to take care of this multiplication by dividing both sides by 5. Since we're multiplying by 5, we can divide by 5 to undo that operation. So we divide by 5 and we get this cancels away. We have 5 divided by 5, and we have negative 6 equals x plus 1. Okay, technically this is in parentheses, but you can undo the parentheses if there's nothing outside of the parentheses. So we have negative 6. We're trying to get x by itself, so we want everything moved over to the other side, so x is by itself. So we need to subtract 1, and we get x equals negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. There's our answer, is negative 7. Okay, this will be a good one to end on. And then you have 3 more up to you. Here we have 24 equals 3 times n minus 5. Now there's another way to do this. I think it's a little bit more lengthy, but I just wanted to show you just to give you an alternative method for solving. So we have 24 equals, well, the first thing you can do if you want is get rid of the parentheses. I know you're like, oh, you just told me reverse order of operations. Sometimes this may even be necessary so that you don't have any complicated scenarios with parentheses. It's up to you. It's up to you as the mathematician. So we can multiply this, and we have 3n, and we have minus 15. This is more recognizable for most students to see something written like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 15 to both sides, just like we did in the first example. The n is here. We're trying to get the n by itself. We want to move everything over to the other side of the equal sign. And we're going to take care of the stuff that's further away from n first. So now we have 24 plus 15. If I'm not mistaken, that's 39. And that equals 3n, because negative 15 plus 15 goes to 0. Anything plus 0 is just going to be itself. Now we have 3n equals 39. To undo the multiply by 3, we divide by 3 to both sides, and we arrive at our answer, which is 13 equals n. So we're going to put 13 here. Hopefully you guys will have similar success. I hope to see you next time on West Explains Best. Take care.